12.1, I will be working out problems 20, 21, and 22 on page 561. You have space on your note sheet to write down all the information that I'm giving you. Don't get in the habit of just writing down the answer, but please, in this case, draw a picture, show the formula, show the work, and then write your final answer on your note sheet. I will be making sure on this chapter that you don't just write in those numbers, but actually take the notes that I'm giving on these videos. So for number 20, we're going to start by drawing a picture of a circle representing our carousel. So we have a carousel that has a diameter of 80 feet, and it's asking how far a rider travels on the outside after 10 revolutions. So if we're talking about the distance around the outside, we're talking about circumference. So draw a picture of the circle and the diameter, and then write the formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. And if it doesn't tell you to use 3.14 for pi, then go ahead and just use the pi key on your calculator. So that's going to be circumference equals pi times 80. And if I pull up my calculator, then I will type in not 3.14. I'm not going to use that as my estimation here. I'm going to just type in pi times diameter, which is 80. And then I get this answer, but I'm also going to multiply that by 10, because there are 10 revolutions, 10 times around the carousel. So while that's in there, I'm going to multiply that by 10. It's just by simply moving the decimal over. I see that that's 2,513 feet, because it does say to round to the nearest foot. So in my formula here, I might just write down times 10 to show that 10 revolutions, and then my final answer will be 2,513, and then I will label that with feet. Please make sure that you have this picture and this work shown for number 20. For number 21, it says a circular fountain has a radius of 4 feet. Okay, and then the mayor wants to build a fountain that is quadruple that. And so quadruple the radius would be 4 times the current number of feet, which is 4. So now we have one that is 16 feet. And it says find the circumference of the new fountain. So please make sure that you draw a picture of these two items and then write down the circumference formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Circumference equals, we're going to use that pi key on our calculator, and if the radius is 16, then the diameter is 16 plus 16, which is 32. And so I will pull up my calculator. It's going to be about 96, because 32 times 3 is 96, but we're going to use that pi key. So pi times 32 equals 100.53. And it does say to round to the nearest tenth, so it will be 100.5. I'll write that in here, 100.5 feet. Please make sure that you have all 3 of these steps on your note sheet. Number 22, it's talking about the world's largest rideable motorcycle that travels 1 mile after about 272.5 rotations. So we're talking again about the circumference of the tire here. So in part A, it asks us to the nearest tenth, how many feet does the motorcycle travel after 1 rotation of the tire? So what we're going to do is we're going to take 5,280 and divide that by 272.5 to find out how many feet the motorcycle travels after 1 rotation. And so it's fine to use a calculator as long as you're showing your work here. And so when I pull that up and take 5,280 divided by 272.5, I get that about 19.4 feet is how far the tire travels after 1 revolution. So for part A, 19.4 feet. And what that represents is 1 rotation of the tire. Well, if this tire spins around 1 time, that's talking about the circumference of the tire, or the circle. So that 19.4 feet is equal to the circumference. Okay, and for part B, it says to find out how tall the tires are. Well, my tires look like this here, and doesn't matter how you go from one side of the tire to the other side of the tire, as long as you pass through the center, that's the diameter, okay? So that's part B is actually asking how tall the tires are. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use our circumference formula. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. However, in part B, we don't know the diameter, so we want to isolate the d by dividing both sides by pi. Pi divided by pi is 1. Then I have d by itself. And then on the left-hand side, I'm also going to divide by pi so that we can find out what the diameter is. Okay? Now you might be asking, where are we going to find the circumference? Well, we just found the circumference in part A of the problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 19.4 and we're going to divide that by pi to find our circumference. Again, it's fine to use a calculator as long as you are showing these steps. And we bring that up and type in 19.4 divided by pi equals 6.17. It says to round to the nearest tenth, so 6.2 is the diameter of the wheel. So I'll go ahead and write that final step, which is 6.2 feet. Make sure that you have all the work shown for problems 20, 21, and 22 on your note sheet.